All right, this video is a demonstration of how to sew a dart and a little information on darts. This is a dart. It's a triangle that we sew out of a flat piece of fabric to give it a shape. This one is very large, but I thought it'd be a good sample to show y'all. As you can see, it's sewn into this piece of fabric that was flat. When you take this triangle piece out, it gives it a curve and a shape. Specifically, this is a bust dart. It makes the curve over the bust. Let me show you, if I can with one hand, how that sort of looks. There we go. If you'll see, you can see how the fabric is raised up here. This accommodates the curvature of the bust. And here is the dart from the outside. So this was a one flat piece of fabric, and when you take this triangle out of it, it gives it this shape. That's why we use darts. We use it for things like curving over the bust or over the hip at the top of a skirt or pants. Darts are really useful to shape fabric. For our sample, I want you to... Okay, now we're gonna learn how to draw and sew the dart. So you got a sample piece of muslin that is 3 inches by 6 inches. And I want you to line your ruler up on the edge there. That should be laying from the 3-inch mark to the 1-inch mark, or 0, right? We got 0, 1, 2, 3. Now I want you to mark an inch wide dart that is 4 inches long. And to do that, I want you to come in to the 1-inch mark and put a dot, and go to the 2-inch mark and put a dot. This is gonna be the top end of our dart. That is 1 inch wide, right? So 1.5 inches on the ruler is right in the middle of that. That middle point is gonna be important because we need the bottom of our dart to be right in the middle of those two. So you got your 3 marks. And what you can do now to find the center, this is pretty fun. You can lay your ruler right over those dots. Okay, now see how where my dots are? I'm gonna line my ruler up at 4 inches right between those dots. And that center dot is this center line here. So technically 4 inches down from here, right in the center, is right here at the end of my ruler, as long as you've got this straight. So you do want to check and make sure you got an inch wide margin all the way down here and an inch wide margin all the way down here. Your ruler could be sitting crooked. Try not to let that happen. You want to make it as straight as possible to make this dart straight. So now I'm going to mark this little position here. There's the tip of my dart. And I see I've got these lines of the dart that we're gonna draw are called legs. If you see, I've got a point there that I will connect to there, and a point there that I will connect to there. This middle point is just for reference. We don't connect it to anything. Now, connect the legs of your dart by drawing your line right to that point. And make sure your fabric doesn't slide under your ruler as you draw these lines. To do that, hold the ruler down nice and firmly so your fabric can't slide. When you get done though, you should have a dart drawn like that. There's your dart. Now to sew this, you fold it in half. And because we should have nicely placed it, it should line up and be nice. And just folding the sample directly in half. But you see how I've got that point right on the fold, and that middle reference dot that we drew earlier is right on my fold too. You see that? So this is pretty good. Now to pin this before you sew it, you're gonna take one pin and you're gonna pin, oh, sorry about hitting the camera, y'all. You're gonna pin low on this dart, but you don't have to go all the way through the dart. I'm trying to get the camera to focus. There we go. You just want to pin right towards the tip of this dart, but you don't necessarily have to go through the line. It's just to hold all your fabric in place at this point. Can y'all see that? Will it focus on that? There we go, kind of. There's one pin. The other pin goes up here. This one I do pin through the leg. And your last one, we're gonna pin line to line like we learned. This is so you can make sure that your dart is being sewn even. We want to line this line up with this line. And to do that, you will put your pin in and make sure it's on the line on the back. It is. And then you'll come back through on the line and make sure that that's on the line up front. And it is. Great, so now you've pinned your dart properly and you can sew it. Okay, now we're ready to sew our dart. Check your machine settings. You want to have your machine position, your needle position in the center, your zigzag on a 0, or your width on a 0, and your stitch length on a 3. We're all set up here. And to do this, you just drop your presser foot like we've always done. Now you can do the walk the needle down trick also to see that you're going to line up with your line perfectly. Looks pretty good to me. I'm going to make one tiny adjustment. And you don't want to start right at the edge. Remember, when you start sewing right at the very edge, it likes to push the fabric down into the machine. So give yourself a little tiny space before the edge. And you're going to stitch and back stitch at the top of this dart, and you're going to back stitch down here at the tip of the dart. Now when you back stitch at the tip of the dart though, make sure your stitches don't stray to this side of the line. They need to stay inside the triangle. So as you sew down and back stitch, when it back stitches, you need to stay either on your line or inside the triangle. Don't go outside the line. Here we go. Back stitch. Pull your pin out as you sew. And we're down here at the tip, and we're gonna back stitch. And that's it, you've sewn your dart. Ta-da. Not my most accurate stitching right there. Y'all try to do better. This machine is sewing poorly though. I'll diagnose that later.